Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, part two, and I decided to bring in C. Alan Johnson to weigh in on this conversation because this is very important with this World Trade Organization. What is it going to mean to you? I mean, we've had ministers say that we can no longer keep our heads stuck in the sand. All industries are open. Can't protect any. So if you drive a cab, if you fish, if you're in tourism, boutique tourism, if you're in bone fishing, you name it. No matter what you're doing, if you're shipping products that Bahamians order on Amazon to the Bahamas, we could have some shipping company here competing with you. And with the 2018 Enterprise Bill, we have the free movement of people indirectly. You apply, 14 days later, if you need 4,000 workers or 300, if we cannot vet them at the Ministry of Immigration, automatically granted 3 years. Now that's a problem because a lot of people come to our country and once they have children, you can't separate them. This thing is going to be deep. We're going to have to do a couple shows on this and show you the different rabbit trails that will have serious repercussion. But before I go further, I would like to invite the former minister, Shivargo Lang, officially, to come and sit in studio with us and explain the pros. Because I'm sure there are a lot of pros. We mentioning some of the cons. I want to give fair opportunity in your official capacity to come and represent why this is so great for the Bahamian people. But see, Alan Johnson, I brought you because you sometimes bring a different perspective. And on this WTO, you've been speaking long as most. How do you see it? Do you see any pro to this?
No, I really don't see in this new economic dispensation of what's happening around the world. Essentially, I describe this as the government, the current administration, trying to marry us to the past of how economics is done. I want to go right to a particular issue that's in the news right now. It's called BPL, okay, BSPL. The reason I want to bring that up is that the new global digital economy requires and runs on 92% energy. We are now going to be competing, when you move into the WTO, we say we're going to provide services, we're going to provide goods, whatever it is that we could fantasize about providing. The question is going to be, how are we going to be competitive? In all of the Silicon Valleys and all of the areas where they pay 6 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. We had 5, 10, 15 times as much in some areas that we compete with. In China, you can buy electricity for 2 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Japan and other places, Norway. And so the question will become is that we can't even keep the lights on for us to even provide the services we have. Now, let's be honest, what services we have? They will tell you that we provide banking. They will tell you that we provide tourism, which is basically a service that we export, like Mr. Lang like to say, that we export, people come here for it. And the question is this, how do we become competitive when we can't keep the rudimentary things which is needed for business that is to keep us going? The new global economy, the fourth industrial revolution, which began in 2017. The first digital revolution began in 1992. It ended in 2017. The second digital revolution, what we call the fourth industrial revolution, began in 2017, December. So here it is where we talk about financial services, where we have 1,400 individuals that work in financial services. We now have a concept called FinTech, which is financial technology. We have SupTech, which is called supervisory technology. And we have RegTech, which is regulatory technology. The beauty about these is that because even our Privy Council have ruled that we have no jurisdiction over the internet, even the United States government have recognized that they lack jurisdiction over commerce over the internet. So now we are beginning to talk about the things that we are talking about, these services we're going to be providing will be delivered by the internet. A lawyer no longer need to be docile in the Bahamas to deliver services in the Bahamas, or a lawyer here can also deliver it today, without WTO, without any restriction now, because in any jurisdiction they want today. So in essence, the WTO we are talking about is an antiquated version of trade, because we have nothing to negotiate with, nothing in what is called the mainstream of what they're going to be negotiation for WTO. So when you begin to look at the digitalization of the economy, when you begin to look at Uber for our ground transportation, you're going to have now the bus service going to be digitized. You have air, bed, and breakfast. You have all of these variations of what is coming at. So tourism as we know it no longer exists except in the minds of our leadership. And so the problem that we have now is that we're negotiating on concepts that didn't even exist in 1992. All of these things exist. I know many of you believe that you've been using the smartphone forever. The smartphone is 10 years old. The dispensation of the smartphone or the computer you hold in your hand today is only 5 years old. You feel like you've been using it forever. Facebook, as we know it, 10 years old. Google in its current dispensation, 8 years old. Twitter, that you know it, in its current dispensation, 4.5 years old. Not when they found it. All of these are companies that are 10 years old or less. The question you then have to ask yourself, what is it that you're really talking about? The new era of commerce. Today, a young person can create a website for anybody anywhere in the world. That's the new digital economy. Today, you can go today and set up an account, on eBay for free. You can buy products in China that you don't have, sell it to people you don't know for money you never had, and never ever go to China, never live in the United States. It's all handled digitally. So where is this concept you come in? The government of the Bahamas says that you will not have to worry about Amazon or Walmart or anything coming here. You don't believe that's true? Why don't you go and ask the business people today? Well, right now, as much as 1/3 of our economy is handled by digital commerce. And you know why you can tell? Go and Google shipping on Facebook or Google and see the number of shipping companies today that is already registered in the Bahamas, where instead of going into the store, they simply go and order it online and it's delivered. There's already access. This is not about them having access to our market. They already have access to our market. There are some things that we're going to talk about as we go along. It's called geolocation, geopolitical status that a lot of companies want. Let's use an example. There's a gentleman in Germany that actually began to make bicycles. And because of the WTO agreement, it became disadvantageous for him to make bicycles. So what he had to do, essentially what he did was he had his bicycles made in Japan, the frame made in Japan, one set made in China, assembled in another place, and when it came back to Germany, he put the final label of Germany, which became a point of the point of origin for where it left. So it changes the dynamics. The Bahamas is an ideal point of origin where individuals can basically offload their products from here. We have the 3rd largest harbor in the world. We have the geolocation between 2 of the major e-commerce giants in the world. This is not about behemoths. For me, this is an oligarch class that sees an opportunity for a collapsing behemoth economic model, where the behemoth economy may be growing from external influences, but it has not grown for the behemoth people. You are becoming a dying class of consumers, and your income would simply be reduced. So what they're doing, they're looking to liaison, to team up, to co-op with larger companies, and using the jurisdiction of the Bahamas to create a new class of wealth for themselves, dynastic wealth. Because, of course, Amazon is not, let's use an example. Lowe's is not going to come here. But clearly a food store, a store right now can simply put, let's say this is Johnson Hardware. You can now come into Johnson Hardware and see Lowe's Johnson Hardware. And everything you ordered from Lowe's will be now passed through the Bahamas, through my partnership, and without them ever being here. Then you can always say, no, Lowe's is not here. This is still Johnson Hardware. There's no preparation made for the Bahamian populace. You have 5,000 to 6,000 individuals graduating every single year. No influx of growth within their thing. You know what they say? You'll have jobs, just over broke suckers. The question then becomes this: if these jobs are so-called available now, why aren't we beginning to see it right now? We're not having the growth that is necessary. This is about a surrender of an economy because individuals lack the intellectual capital for the 4th industrial revolution to basically prepare behemoths for that. And so what you have is leadership of the past that answers to a whole different class of individuals that is defaulting to a surrender tactics.
Yep.
I assure you, I would invite Minister Lang and the former leader of trade to have an open, clear, concise dialogue in the public domain, looking at the global economy as we know it, and begin to have a conversation of how the benefits are and the direction for which we should grow the economy. If this is about empowering behemoths, just use an example. Yeah. Here it is that behemoths, you have right now we are locked out of a global commerce in market. Why? Right. Because of banking rules. We are locked out, even in the gaming industry.
Wait, you're talking about the foreign exchange that restricts... Break that down. Why am I locked out? Give me an example. I'm a guy that I do coconut water, gin and juice, sky juice, whatever you want, call it, right?
No, let me just jump straight to the point. Here's the point. For instance, a young person in America has an idea to develop something. They have the ability right now to crowd fund. They can basically have 50,000 people. You have 200 million people or whatever around the world. They decide they need 50,000 people. They can basically find 500 people to basically give them $100, and be able to have funding for whatever they do. A behemoth cannot do that. Okay, and this is the global commerce, because in the new digital economy, ideas is the new currency. But because what it is what you have is the man in the middle. This is when we begin to talk about the shared economy. We begin to talk about the gig economy. The Bahamas government has not even made it feasible for a young person that does voice app. Let's just say they do voice over. So they could go in the global marketplace and do voice over and be able to accept currency and in real time from anywhere else. They have to go through a gymnastic to create fake businesses in the U.S. so they can have a U.S. account and everything else. These are simple things for to be done. And so this is things where, I remember in 2010, I would like for Minister Lang to go back to his budget debate of 2010 when he sold us on the knowledge economy. It is 9 years now for you to sign the WTO. Where is the knowledge economy legislation that you said would be coming? That was right before the sale.
The WTO effort.
WTO effort. But this, all of these are all part of just talk.
Well, let me put a question to you then. I'm seeing. So, the actual joining then of the WTO does not, from a technological point of view, advances for the Bahamian people absolutely zero. There's no preparation for it.
None.
So
not even any was prepared.
And we are locked in because the very rules which we actually apply in the country in terms of, for example, limitation, access to cash.
Yes.
Restrict us.
Where Americans can crowdfund, we can't even crowdfund.
No. Where Americans can actually set up an account today. You can go in American right now. My son in America today can go and open up an account, and the next day they will send him a small device that he can put on his phone and accept credit cards in any currency he wants. Wire transfer, deposit, everything else.
We're not ready for
Wait.
No.
See, Alan, with your expertise, tell me this. I'm someone in America, broke. I live in a trailer home. I visit the Bahamas, and I decide to do something in the Bahamas. Whatever it is, right? It could be tourism, it could be taxi, it could be Uber, it could be whatever. But I need myself $500,000. I could crowd fund, get my $500,000, and come here and outspend a Bahamian in that sector.
In one day.
Absolutely.
But then I'm finished.
No, here's the point. $250,000. They go and come up with an idea just to own what is called a bed and breakfast.
Right.
We said that once they buy the $250,000, they have all rights and privileges that seems Bahamian have.
So they can build that little triplex.
He can build a house for the $250,000 or buy one for $250,000 and put it on bed and breakfast. Within 7 days every month, he has made the 100% of the money of he's invested. He has 21 days of profit. The Bahamian does not have access to that. We must go to the bank right now and pay 12%.
But see, Alan, I think it's going to be important we do this again.
Yes.
Let me tell you why. Because I've never really heard it before. But it's interesting that you're saying it's the very economy which we are now entering into. In fact, we're well on our way into it.
No, we're well into it.
We're well on our way into it.
It's a conceptual economy.
It's a conceptual economy. We literally now apply rules which are ancient. First point.
Which hold us back.
Yes, which hold us back. Second point is that the actual WTO accession does not speak to that.
No, it doesn't. Because they never existed.
And
no one imagined today.
And therein
10 years ago.
Yeah, when those were 17 years ago.
Therein lies the reason for the continued handcuffing of the Bahamian experience.
Absolutely. Because what happens now is that the Bahamian person right now with a proper digital platform can actually become global players in the war between America and everybody else. Let's use an example. When Ryan Pinder came with this condo. They call it a condo.
Right.
But basically what it is basically being able to put products in the Bahamas and use this jurisdiction to ship it, saying ship from the Bahamas, just by doing whatever final tinkering that what is done.
Right.
And so now you're not subject to certain prohibitions or inhibitions that may be there. Like how, for instance, Venezuela now has this oil thing. What they do, they go to Trinidad, pipe it over there, and it leaves from Trinidad. So it bypasses that. The Bahamas is the third largest, deepest port in the world, where post-Panama ships can go. This is where the large ships can come and drop it here and go back out.
Wow.
But the greatest thing that the Bahamas is, there's a $1 trillion economy that's being developed. It's called in the true knowledge economy, or what is called the fourth industrial revolution, interconnectivity of everything, where intellectual capital becomes the most important thing. WTO cannot speak to it. A number of
Accession
countries,
to WTO.
accession does not
Right.
speak to it. No, WTO period around the world. No country has been ruled by the Privy Council. There's no jurisdiction in the internet. So what countries like the United States have done,
So
and even states,
we're locked out
termination.
of a dynamic new economy.
Yes, we
Yes.
were basically, we're now, in fact, we're
And
selling us back to
And the rules we apply
1980.
actually locks us out of it even more so.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the 12.5%.
Absolutely.
Exchange
Danger.
thing. Yes.
It's total danger. In
And
fact,
so, but that affects also local businesses.
absolutely.
But having said that, let me go further. Mr. Lang, we want you to come and join us on this show.
Please, open invitation.
Does his commentary speak to these issues?
No. None speaks to the 21st century.
No.
Everything.
No, not
that-
even a digital point. I mean,
No. it does not
clearly a
speak-
visionary plan for how we exceed
How
and the
the-
benefits that will accrue from that.
Gentlemen,
not.
in the Jamaican, listen, a Jamaican told me this, a businessman who was doing well, and he's finished now. He said, the foreigner and the tourist relaxes and does business while we pays the taxes.
No, but see, this is the dynamics of also doing business in the Bahamas. I could be docile here. I could do a whole thing. People, you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to sell you that you would be a better consumer. That's all they talk about.
Yep.
You would be a better consumer. How could you consume if you have no money to buy?
That's the problem.
See, the consumption is a pass-through to the Bahamas. And so what it does, it reunite another class of individuals that is basically looking to grab hold of a jurisdiction. I put to you, the Oban issue and the Grand Bahama Port Authority issue is all one and the same. And the reason you have to ask yourself, if one of the largest technology companies in the world, called Hutchison Whampoa, does not know that Grand Bahama, if treated as a country, would be the second most prepared country in the world, something is wrong. If Hutchison Whampoa, one of the largest hospitality country in the world, was to treat it as doesn't know the potential. So essentially what you have is the world knows who we are. Our leadership don't, because they are stuck in a 19th century concept. I use an example all the time. 20th century leaders using 19th century concept to govern in a 21st century world. It cannot get worse than this. What we have to do is we have to have visionary leadership. We have to have a conversation of where we are, not where we should have been, where we are today, and where we want to go tomorrow.
But I want to ask you now, just before you go, in fact, because
we need to wrap up.
Yeah, I know, we do. Just the very idea then of accession to WTO. First, outside of what you've just discussed, any real benefit for the Bahamian people?
None, because we have nothing to trade. We have 1,400 people.
No, but,
Yeah,
but you know what Graham is going to say, and some of us going to say, those people out there looking, they're
Natural
gonna say, They're going to say
resources.
we have our natural resources.
No.
But we know that those resources are not being exploited for the purposes of the use of the Bahamian people.
Oh, no.
No, again, the natural resources has to fit in. Let me just quickly
No,
touch.
because they want to understand
No.
why is it that we will develop or accrue no benefit from joining.
But see, not from natural resources.
Yeah.
We won't. We will not accrue any benefits from
Yeah.
natural resources unless sovereignty is exit. That's what I'm saying. Just quickly, 60 seconds. The problem I hear everybody talk about this sovereign wealth fund is because you first must understand. If C. Allen Johnson has $1 million and he goes to Kalina, let's use him. I give him $1 million. Does Kalina take 85% of my $1 million and then tell me I get 15%? Or does Kalina says, here's your $1 million and I take a percentage of all the value I add? See, that's the problem. We're talking about giving up everything. I must give you my $1 million and then you take 85% and I get 15%.
That's the Bahamas.
That's the Bahamas.
That's okay.
A sovereign wealth fund assesses a value, hires a sovereign asset management company who's in the business, like I would hire Kalina to hide under my money, who would negotiate to incorporate you into these other things because we don't have the final product. then there's a whole new negotiation process that has nothing to do with WTO. It has to do with the ability to negotiate, to incorporate, because those companies in receiving it will actually exercise their authority knowing their dependency. It's a little, I'm trying to simplify it. But the problem is we're having like a WTO conversation as if there will be some mom and pop shop on some corner. Mm-hmm. Other than banking, which will now become fintech. You hear them talking about Grand Bahama fintech, digital, that. Fintech eliminates jurisdiction under WTO. Eliminates jurisdiction.
No national boundaries.
No national boundaries. None. Mm-hmm. Shopping now is this. I don't need
shopping is local,
we don't
wherever
produce
we are.
China needs to have an arrangement to get their product into America. Because I'm selling their product. I'm selling Germany product. I'm selling Brazil product. I'm selling whatever product. I don't need a WTO agreement. I must find out which countries have an agreement to get into America. What do I need the agreement for? Because I don't produce anything I'm selling in America.
So is it a false conversation? Is it
a
false narrative?
It's a garbage conversation.
It's a garbage conversation.
False narrative. If you if you follow a garbage truck and you see the juice that comes to the bottom out of the truck, garbage juice.
But listen, Graham, this is a fantastic conversation. Some of us have to leave, but we must continue this. I would like to say on behalf of myself and I, we got to get the minister in here. Well, I should say the former minister. I do not believe that we should. I think we will be fair if we formally let him know that he's invited to come in. And please, Minister, don't get offended about me and the BA comment. But the fact of the matter, not only do you need a bit more specialization in this area, but I believe we need to also take on people like C. Alan Johnson, who can explain to us the subtleties of a changing world economy and the impact that may have on our ability even to be a viable nation.
A viable nation. But let me just touch on it.
We're being sold out.
No, let me just touch. Today, the U.S. Trade Office has 200 full-time employees
Absolutely.
with a $54 million payroll.
Yeah.
Then comes their Commerce Department that supports them. 2,500 employees with a $450 million budget from 2015. Got to be over $600 billion now under Trump. And they have hundreds of consultants that specialize in trade and subcategories. This is who we will be sitting to. Let me tell you something of the technology. I understand their computers. They have, in their trade office, they have a group of people that studies every country. And every single day, when that country changed the rules of their commerce rules or their tax rule, that their technicians basically see how it affects trade across all of the other boundaries to negotiate. That's the type of team. WTO is not for us who wants to simply be consumers. When we get into the position of recognizing that in our economy, if we was to put 2,000 young people to work today and have each one of them make $25,000 on the global economy, we could add $500 billion to our economy every year. $500 billion. That's them. All they need is one of these.
A smartphone.
That's all they need. And being man in the middle. Facebook is man in the middle. Amazon is man in the middle. Uber is man in the middle. Airbnb is man in the middle. This is all the concepts. New dispensation of the new global economy.
And that's why we have to do this again. Because I think we have to take them through, lay out exactly what you mean by a number of those concepts, teach the Bahamian people. But I hope it's been...
We're not teaching our students to operate in this digital dispensation, as Sian says, or in the conceptual economy.
It's a reality.
Or because we just want to be good consumers.
Donald Trump is recognizing... the problem is people are paying attention to the trade and the steel. You have to look at the subtleties of how he's adjusting for the fourth industrial revolution. But if you don't even know the fourth industrial revolution is here, you'll just look directly and say that's a fight. No, that's more than a fight. This is about a tactic of negotiation in the subtleties of the new global economy.
And the new rules and the new WTO rules. I mean, they say nothing in terms of protecting a nation from these developments.
Because that WTO was 17 years ago. That couldn't have imagined.
It's ancient.
In fact, it's now what, 1999? 1999.
In 1999. Let's use an example. In 1992, the first digital revolution started. It died last year. The second digital revolution has started. We know it as the fourth industrial revolution, Internet of Everything. I'm talking about drone taxis, automated things, automated delivery.
Concepts.
Notice this. I want you to understand this. Watch that even Walmart, the giant, is dying. Go on your page right now and go. I want you to go on Walmart I want you to go and order something for Walmart, and you'll see that Walmart, this is what we're talking about. Walmart will give you about 15 different suppliers. They'll say, we have it, and you can order it from 15 suppliers, and they'll tell you who will deliver it. That's the new economy. Even Walmart. The problem is you must understand the subtleties in the change of the new global economy.
Amazon.
But if you begin to think that there's some store going to be setting up here, or something else, then you have no understanding of the present, not the future, the present. And what you have is leadership that is stuck in the past. The merchant class thing where you go buy sardines from the store, that don't exist, but they're leading us.
But you know what? The 12.5% gives them a lease on life.
Yeah,
A limited lease on life.
Yes.
A limited lease on life.
And
Yes.
they're trying to convert us. Because
Yes. Yes.
what
Have to
happens
keep
is,
increasing.
Yeah.
imagine,
That's why
understand this.
Yeah.
You should never raise taxes. If we add let's say we have a flat rate of thing. Let me tell you, a conversation we're going to have is with income tax. I'm going to tell you why you won't have income tax. You know why? Because income tax requires all the money that behemoths have anywhere to be reported to our commerce. That's the conversation we have.
That's cool.
That's
So-
the problem. But we have a much conversation.
We
We're
can
going to
have
have
that.
this over a number of days, and we invite you to join us again
Absolutely.
as we begin to take a slow. This is an intro. We're going to take piece by piece our time and break down each one and give you information that you could verify. But we invite them to have a
Let me
conversation.
say one more thing. Call your MP.
Individually.
Call your MP and let your MP know that you are concerned about this WTO accession, this WTO membership. Ask the right questions. Demand
in it for you?
accountability. What's in it for the Bahamian
Right,
people?
and I invite every individual MP, because you're going to vote individually. This is something not for whip. We need to have a referendum. I agree with Finn, but I'm going to say to you, do not allow your MP to hide in the ban. See, what they do is they want you to scream at the FNM, or they want you to scream at the PLP. That's the ban. Let's hold each individual MP, 5 years liberty, accountable. If your MP can't have a debate with me, the uninformed person that the government would never think to hire, so they can bring their professional. If your MP individually can't back it, you shouldn't vote for something you don't understand.
So guys, we got to finish it
Better
tomorrow.
wrap
1 o'clock, if that's okay with you
Yeah.
guys. I'd like to meet 1 o'clock, and let's talk about. Well, number one, brick and mortar's dead. It ain't dying. It's dead. We just don't realize it's dead.
Slow down.
And so we'll talk about what you should be asking your MP. We'll give you a list of things tomorrow that you should ask your MP, and we'll tell you the answer you should be hearing.
Yeah.
So I want to see everybody tomorrow at 1. We'll be accepting phone calls, and we'll be reading all your messages
It's been good.
live. Gentlemen, thanks for coming. Let's do this tomorrow at 1.
Absolutely.
Part 3.
It's been good.